Well, we're delighted to have with us today Anders Liu-Lindberg from the Business Partnering Institute and joining us here for our Focus Week. Thanks very much for joining us, Anders.
Thanks a lot for having me, Ellen.
It's a pleasure. So, Business Partnering Institute, I think you've been running that for about 2 years or just over 2 years now. What was the main driver or purpose behind doing that?
Yeah, so I come from a practitioner background in Maersk, global transport and logistics company, where we've been working for business partnering for 10 years. And I've seen both the goods and the bads about it, but I've certainly also seen how much effort it takes to actually succeed with business partnering. And then I'm joined by some consultants who have also been out working with lots of companies, primarily in Denmark, but also abroad, helping them to succeed with business partnering. And it's just a really difficult journey. But we feel that we have something extra to add to that, and we can really help move companies, crack the code on business partnering. So that's really why we founded the institute, and really just trying to help people and companies become better at business partnering.
And do you think that most companies understand that now and understand the need and importance of business partnering?
Yeah, I think you will be hard pressed to find any company that doesn't have in their vision for the next 5 years to become better business partners, or world-class finance, which include business partnering, et cetera, et cetera. So I think they're all saying that. And when you then look in under the hood of their transformation projects, typically they always need to, fix some processes and get a new system first and, do this, that, and the other. But very little about the people development journey, or it's set for, we'll do that in 2 or 3 or 4 quarters anyway, so far out that no one knows what it will turn out to be. So I think people know it, at least logically. Emotionally, it might be a different story though, because many CFOs and senior finance leaders, they might come from an audit background or a more traditional finance and accounting background, and they know if they need to become good business partners, it means stepping out of their comfort zone and partnering with senior business leaders. And that is uncomfortable. And it also, that level of uncomfortability, that also translate into their hesitation to really get started on this journey. So logically they know, emotionally it's a bit more of a struggle.
I can understand that it's that change element of things as well, isn't it? And like I say, going outside of someone's comfort zone. I think the words business partnering, we've been hearing about them for a long, long time. But actually, like you say, do companies really understand what it means, and are they really doing it? So what do you think happens to those organizations that do put it off and keep putting off actually going through that change? What are the downsides for those organizations?
So what I see more and more of is simply senior finance leaders or even CFOs getting laid off because they are either not good business partners themselves, or they are not serious or moving on the journey. So I think that's the ultimate effect of this. And of course, when we talk about business partnering, we're talking about adding value, creating value. So the longer you delay this, the more money you lose or forfeit in creating. So there's both a value element and there's a personal career element at stake here. So I think that's a pretty burning platform if you're a finance function. So better start actually doing something about it.
Yeah, we all want to keep our jobs ultimately. And I think, you're right, but particularly now, businesses which aren't actually able to address that kind of need, or businesses and also the people involved, if you can't address those needs, then you're going to find yourself in trouble. I mean, what would you say are the biggest benefits then? We looked at those as the downsides just now, if you don't go ahead and do it in a timely way. What do you think the main benefits are for a company that says, actually, yes, I've got this on the blueprint and my plan. It's been there for a year. Now's the time. I really want to do something with it. And they go for it. What's the first kind of benefit they're going to get? I guess the first benefit and also the main benefits you see from doing it.
Yeah, so I think there are 2 main things, right? So the first thing is, of course, like I just mentioned, the value creation element. So companies that have good business partnering setups, they simply earn more money. And I think it's the Hackett Group that have made a benchmark on this. So I think the data is pretty clear. If you're good at business partnering, your company will make more money. But then there's also a second element to it, the people element, because for years, the finance transformation agenda has been about cost of finance, lowering the cost, offshoring, outsourcing, call it what you want, automating, replacing people. Business partnering is actually one of the few initiatives where we're going to invest money into people. And while it can be uncomfortable, you're going on this change journey, it's also exciting because finally, finance is investing in me and not in something to replace me. And so I think those are the two main benefits. So you should see higher employee engagement from embarking on a business partnering journey if you do it right. If you do it wrong, of course, it will be terrible for everyone.
And I guess that's where working with people like you come in. You've helped organisations go through this kind of change process, and you know some of the challenges that people come up against. I mean, what do you think the main challenges are? Because it all seems to make perfect sense, and apart from people maybe being a bit reticent to do it because they don't like change, what's stopping people? What is actually making people sit back and think, "Oh, I can't do this"? So, what do you think the main challenges are when you've been helping people?
Yeah, so we already talked about the emotional challenge, right? Stepping out of the comfort zone, changing behaviors, changing habits, mindset, culture. That is inherently difficult for whatever change project you're running, not just business partnering. It doesn't really matter. Any change project, these are the difficult things to achieve. But then I think something very, very practical as lack of time. If you ask someone, why are you not doing more business partnering? They'll say, I simply don't have time. All my time is spent on month-end reporting, management reporting, budgeting, forecasting, all those classical, you can say finance or FP&A or management accounting tasks. And if that's what you keep telling yourself, then you will never find time for it. So I think, and this might be a tough challenge for many people, but if you're really brutal about prioritizing your time, I'd say anyone out there could find 20% in their calendar tomorrow if they just stop doing some activities and delegated other activities. I think really it's that simple.
And I guess also it's about getting that time back. I mean, yes, okay, they haven't got the time to go through that change process, but if they were to just start and take a step down that road, actually they're going to give themselves more time because they've looked at their processes better, they're working with the rest of the business better, and therefore they're actually giving themselves back time. It's just that initial phase, I guess, to begin with, isn't it, where they are going to have to think about things.
Yeah, but it is really it's also a continuous improvement principle, really, because when you do the first exercise, you can probably find more time than when you do it for the fifth time. But it's to get into that mindset to continuously look for opportunities to improve and create time for yourself. I mean, as a business partner myself in my previous role, I was doing a lot of activities on the side as well, including starting and running the Business Partnering Institute. But somehow I always had time for these things, and people ask me, how do you make it? How do you get it done? Well, it's a mindset. Yeah. It's the will to do continuous.
You wanted to,
right? So I think anyone can do that. It's not I don't have the same time available as anyone else, but it's just I'm very brutal about what do I prioritize and what do I turn down.
Yeah, that's a good tip actually, and I think it's one that people tend to forget. You can get lost in the midst of too many things, or bogged down in the minutiae of one particular thing, but actually you need to prioritize a bit better if you find yourself not having that kind of time. So bearing that in mind, where do you think, if you are a CFO in a large organization right now, with the challenges that we all face to some extent, where do you think the main focus should be?
So depending a bit on what business and industry you're in, I mean, you either focus on value preservation, simply ensuring that there's a company tomorrow as well, given the big uncertainties we're in. If you're in transportation or leisure industry or entertainment, I mean, you're in an extremely tough spot right now, and many businesses are closing. So if you're a CFO, you're focused only about how can I make sure this company survives. And then, of course, you could be in other industries that are not so much impacted by this, and there you're more just continuing the agenda of making sure your people are safe, finding out how do you work in this more work from home / remote environment, how do you take the best things of what we learned from the big lockdowns in the spring and continue those things in the fall and the winter to come, where we might see you know, similar situations happening. So
Mm.
there's really just to make sure that you can continue business as usual, which is, you know, still good, rather than going into some sort of a crisis mode. But I've spoken also to lots of senior finance professionals during springtime, and they were super busy. No matter if their business was doing well, not so well, or really struggling, they were super busy doing forecasting, planning, scenarios, initiatives,
Mm.
cash flow, you know, whatever they could. So they were working so long hours, and they were working from home. So it was a really critical time, and we need to make sure we can handle that situation again in a better way, I would say.
That's, yeah, I mean, that rings true with me as well. I've spoken to a fair few CFOs, and I think that and consultants as well, who have never been so busy as they were across that time period in the spring. So yes, I'm sure. I mean, hopefully that's meant that they are able to be a bit more robust if that does happen again. I mean, fingers crossed that it won't, but who knows? So if you're perhaps working in across procure to pay, what can you do if you're in that team or across those teams to actually help your CFO and your senior management team through the current situation?
Yes, I think there are two things that you can focus on. The first thing is really just process excellence. Make sure the P2P process runs without any issues, right? That will take a burden off your CFO's shoulder because he or she doesn't have to focus on that. So make sure it runs as smooth as possible. You can say no matter the circumstances, right? Whether you're working from home or not. And then
Yeah.
secondly, you know, anyone in finance, whether you have a role of a business partner or not, has an opportunity to be a business partner. So if you work in P2P, you can, you know, look at, are we utilizing the contracts we have made to the fullest extent? What relationships do we have with the vendors? Are there opportunities to consolidate? Do we need to spread more out? And so on and so forth. And those are insights that you can bring to the table and help your senior finance leaders come up with new value initiatives that can hopefully bring more cash flow and maybe more money into the company. So anyone, regardless of where in finance you work, you have an opportunity to be a business partner. So, you know, if you're in P2P, seize that opportunity as well.
It's a good point, actually, and it could well be that people are already being, to some extent, business partners, but without actually realizing that they are. They haven't got that title, haven't got that role. So perhaps it's just about doing a little bit more of what they are doing, or maybe making what they are doing more visible. Do you think? And it's funny actually talking about what people can do in their departments. I think you had something on LinkedIn a week or two ago about the importance of online learning. Do you think that that's going to be something which is going to have even more resonance now?
Yeah, I think, you know, this is here to stay, right? Online learning has of course been here for a long time, but it hasn't really been a critical activity because, you know, we can always go and have the physical learning as well. So online learning will become more and more prevalent. And I mean, we have taken our training offerings virtual as well, right? So we can deliver those virtually. I think the key challenge, which I also wrote about on LinkedIn, is that we're really lacking skilled facilitators in a virtual environment, because it is just different when you're sitting here looking at a screen and you might not even see the others because you can only see the screen that you're sharing, and you have to still be engaging. I mean, something as simple as if you speak for more than 5 minutes without engaging your audience, they'll probably tune out. If you're standing there physically, you can sort of, you know, can make eye contact with them, you can make gestures and so on and so forth, but they will not see that when you sit here. You know, you have your screen. So we really need to upskill our ability to be good virtual facilitators, and also on the other side, be a good virtual participant. What does that require of you? Because it's, you know, and we probably all tried this. It's so easy to say, okay, you know, now I'm signed in, I'm listening, but I'm actually doing something else over here, and then you're not getting anything out of it. So what does it take to be a good virtual participant? I think, you know, we need to work on both ends here.
I think you're absolutely right, and it's a challenge, I think, for everybody, isn't it? Really, and I think perhaps maybe one of the things that you have to do is mix it up a little bit, so that you're not just offering the same thing in the same way all the time. But like you say, it's a challenge for all of us, and I guess it's a learning curve, isn't it? We're all having to learn rapidly how to do things differently, which of course is another challenge for all of us. So just finally then, Anders, I mean, what would you say to somebody who is going through this situation at the moment? Any final pointers that you might want to make in terms of business or in terms of somebody looking at their future career?
I think, for personal development, the critical step is to step out of your comfort zone, right? Make a commitment to yourself to every day do something that feels uncomfortable. You don't have to be outside your comfort zone all the time, but if you try it, you can always go back into the comfort zone and reflect on what did you learn. But if you never step out of your comfort zone, you're not looking at a positive career in the future. So I think do that, and that can be, so many different things. If you're in P2P, for instance, and you're not comfortable about, sharing insights and being a business partner, try it, see what happens. No one will kill you, right?
No, exactly. Very, very, very good point. I mean, I think that sometimes we're all guilty of doing the same thing that we know very well and keep doing it over and over again. But you're right. Yeah, do something a little bit different, and let's see where it can go. All right.
Exactly.
Thanks very much for joining us, Anders. And we hope that you'll join us for some of the activities in the rest of the week, and look forward to seeing you again in person.
Yeah,
Not
hopefully.
too distant future. All right.
Yeah, thanks.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye bye.
You too. Bye.